Hello guys, Carlos here. Today this is going to be somewhat of an interesting video. I was going to release a brake training technique video when I noticed that I could not perform my usual brake training techniques to see if the pedals were well adjusted and if I had a comfortable sitting position. I immediately jumped out into a track and car combo that I knew that would expose lots of braking issues and problems. I started driving the Ferrari 458 GT2 at Imola. Even better than that, I had an old lap time with a decent setup that a friend gave me back then, and I was using the Logitech G923 and the tlcm pedals by Thrustmaster. And I was using both of those in a desk setting without a proper cockpit and with my monitor maybe slightly behind the wheelbase. So everything was a little bit different and off, but I was still managing to pull off faster lap times with the Logitech, and now that I had my Fanatec direct drive I couldn't even get close to my old lap times. So to me this was exposing something very bad, that maybe my current setup had some mistake. I might have some problem with the force feedback or with the pedal positioning. One of the best and most interesting things that happened to me was that I went to watch the European Le Mans series at the circuit of Portimao, and they had a simulator setup there with a more advanced playseat cockpit. On that sitting position, because I had a slider for my chair, I quickly found out a comfortable position to play there and to drive. They had a different game there and different force feedback, but one of the things that I noticed was they had my old trusty tlcm pedals there and with a really soft setting, but somehow I was able to control the braking well there. That was the point where I noticed something was off here with my cockpit, and I realized that maybe I should not have the pedal either too close to me or the pedals too far from me, to the point where I was straining to get to 100% braking. And this got me into somewhat of a wild search for what was wrong with my setup, trying to fix everything, and I ended up not changing much. I didn't change my force feedback for the most part. I didn't change anything else other than the distance that I had between myself and the pedals. And so today I'm going to actually record and save for this video my cockpit settings for this particular hot lap and for this hot lap comparison. The laps are not that quick or that fast. I have not practiced this car and track. My current fastest lap time with the Fanatec is only number 60 in the world for the RSR live timing rankings. I'm still proud of it, of course, and it took me some effort, but it's nothing too special, and I'm not bragging about how fast I am or anything like that. However, I'm trying to expose that having better gear will mean nothing if you don't have it set up properly. And if you have really inexpensive gear but you are able to set it up really well, adjust very well your FOV, have your screen at the right distance from your eyes, feel comfortable with the setup and have a good car setup and work on the car and track, you can be as fast with a cheap setup, almost as fast as you can be with a more expensive setup. Especially if you are clueless when you have an expensive setup, you'll never be competitive because you're missing out on the key details that will make your experience more realistic and that will make you comfortable and actually drive faster, as fast as you can drive. So let's jump right in. I will be comparing both hot laps and let's see how this thing is going to go. So this was a quali lap, guys. Look at this braking. I'm threshold braking and then trail braking a bit. Again here the same thing. I'm not really maxing out the brakes and I'm doing small corrections with the braking so the car doesn't lock up, but I keep the front of the car planted on the ground. Long trail braking here to keep the car gripped. As soon as I saw the braking that I was doing here and I was able to see the pedal camera on this particular replay, I was interested in being able to replicate this, and I tried to replicate it initially. At first I was failing to replicate the things that I was doing in this old video with my Logitech G923 and with my Thrustmaster tlcm pedals mounted on the floor with a car battery on top of them just to keep them in place. I was doing fastest lap after fastest lap and doing very consistent lap times throughout the race. For me, this was a good indicator that my basic techniques were on point and I was physically able to repeat the movements I wanted to do. So going for my last lap, I go in too deep on the penultimate corner and then I try to save it. I need now the fastest exit possible into the main straight so that I can get the highest speed possible on the main straight. That is really important for fast lap times and high top speeds. During the straight I go for smooth lines and I try to set up a decent smooth and stable line into the first corner, break in a straight line, turn in close to the apex, exit with a wide line trying to maximize track usage. I could have done better with a hint of trail braking there. Don't brake too much, just enough to be able to do smooth and wide lines. Be careful with the curbs, they can destabilize the car, but you also want to maximize the usage of the track area. Then on the next corner I brake a bit in a straight line, just trail a little bit for a late apex and try to exit with a wide line, so opening up the line, keeping the throttle floored. And here I will need to be very careful. Again, we need the car stable, brakes just enough. I was sliding a bit with the car here, so not the most perfect corner, but it's always about keeping momentum, keeping very high apex speeds. Try to keep a very high speed and a lot of momentum with the car stable. I try to exit as wide and smooth as possible without destabilizing the car, and now we need to brake in a stable straight line, wait until the chicane to actually turn in. I scrubbed off a little bit too much time because I took too much of the left side curb. Always be careful with the curbs. This lap could have been even faster with the Logitech if I had been a little bit more careful. Again, for the penultimate corner, just brake in a straight line, trail just a little bit and turn in at the right moment. On this track it's very important to be careful of how long do we brake, when do we lift the brake, and when do we turn in. These details on the braking zones are very important to get consistent and fast lap times here. On the last lap from this race I ended up doing one of my best laps with the Logitech G923, the 1 minute 44 and 1/10 around Imola with the Ferrari GT2. So here I go for my hot lap with the Fanatec direct drive, the V3 pedals and also the playseat cockpit. I tried to avoid the mistake from last time and I tried to do a fast exit out of these corners. From last time to this attempt I had at least 5 or 10 hot lap attempts where I was changing some configuration in my pedals or the preload on the brake, trying to fix what was wrong. Here I try to get a wider entry into the apex so I can carry more speed. I'm overall a bit more aggressive with the pedals and with the steering inputs in the first sector of the track this time. Here I'll be reaching 100% for a while. I'm still trying to carve up a little bit more track. Here there is a little bit of a scrub with the tires, nothing too bad. We did lose a little bit of time that we could have done better like last time, but here it will be much better. I end up trailing a bit but keeping it in fourth, and I end up doing a cleaner corner here this time. On the next one I start to notice a little bit more trail braking, but at the same time I think I could have done a wider exit there for a higher apex speed. Here we also have an improvement. Straight line braking, we hold up 20% of braking for a while in turn in, and we do not clip too much on the curbs, so the car is more stable, planted, and we got good acceleration out of that corner. This was the point where I was thinking that I didn't want to take any big risks and bin this lap. Again here, braking in a straight line, not missing the apex, just trailing enough to get the apex. Even here I did the same, just a slight tint on the brakes, and I tried to have a stable exit for a fast lap time. With this lap of 1:43 seconds and 6 tenths, I became the number 16 in the world for the RSR live timing with this current track combo.
Your best lap time.
I wasn't really looking for the record, but I was happy to have improved my driving skills. Now I will be sharing with you guys the way I have my cockpit setup and the measurements and all my settings with a lot of detail, and I hope this information can help you out, guys, to actually have a comfortable setup and actually extract as much lap time as you can out of your setup without struggling too much. It was quite surprising for me that that I was struggling to beat my previous best lap time when I was using the Logitech G923 and the Thrustmaster tlcm pedals. When I saw those laps with my old gear, I realized that I had wasted potential and maybe I was not extracting all the performance that I could extract out of my new equipment. That was something interesting for me to think about. Actually, I could not stop thinking about it because I noticed that I could realize a lot higher potential than what I was doing at the time. So this is the way I have my cockpit set up, 57 centimeters wide. Because I'm a pretty big guy, I like to have a lot of lumbar support here for pretty strong braking. To try to maximize my FOV, I have the screen pretty close to the steering wheel. Usually just behind the quick release, that's my reference point. I try to get it to the point where it is not touching, but it's close. There is just enough room for the screen to wiggle if it was connected to the cockpit. This is the measure that I have for the distance here. I'm also going to try to get the reference for the angle here on the wheelbase. These are my cockpit settings for the pedal plate, and it's nice that we can memorize settings. I've tried also, instead of using here to try to get the pedals in a little bit more vertical fashion. I've not tried much with the pedals higher up. I have tried using different preload settings, but overall this one was what felt a little bit more realistic and more right to me. With a stronger brake pedal, what happens is that I saturate the brake pedal way too fast. I've tried to use the pedals here and here. Sometimes I will use them here because it's easier to make more strength on the brake pedal really quickly. And here you will be more tired because the pedals are a bit further away. But sometimes it felt more comfortable to do heel and toe because of my big legs trying to reach for 3 pedals at the same time. The important part for me is the distance between my brake pedal and my chair, and the adjustment that I have here and the pedal positioning on the plate. So finally, here it is, my sitting position. This is more or less what I can see when I'm driving. I did use a cell phone adapter just to clamp this here. All the information about the pedals with a lot of details, so you guys can replicate the experience that I had the best you can and extract as much lap time as you can out of your equipment. For me, it was quite surprising that I was having difficulty surpassing my lap time with Logitech G923 and the Thrustmaster tlcms, and obviously I had a huge waste of potential with my new equipment. Something was off and I couldn't get it out of my mind. I really had to fix it, and I spent a few days while I was working and doing other things. My mind always came back to this and I had to fix it, and now that I've fixed it, I'm sharing it with you guys here. I hope this video was helpful for you and that you guys enjoyed. Thank you very much. Please comment, leave your like, subscribe and leave your suggestions below. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day.